Hey gang, just wanted to share a little bit about what I know about the 70.3 Oregon course, having raced it a couple of times and taught numerous clinics on the course. So, starting with the swim, it's one of the fastest swims on the circuit, if not the fastest swim. It depends a little bit on the current every year from year to year, but looking at athletes' race files from even the last week, it looks like athletes who would typically swim 2 minutes per 100 are swimming under a minute per 100. So it's going pretty fast. So on race day morning, you do make sure you get there plenty early. You set up your transition. You do have to give yourself time to walk from transition in Riverfront Park, the 1.2 miles down to the race start. It's a beautiful walk. It goes through a wildlife sanctuary. It's also the first part of the run. The first 1.2 miles of the run. Make sure you've got something for your feet. They will have race morning bags right at the very close to the swim entrance, where you can put your bag in the back of the truck and they will take it back to transition. You can also just wear flip-flops or some other shoe that you don't want anymore on your feet and dispose of them at the race start. Also make sure you're warm enough as you walk down there. You probably don't want to put your wetsuit on all the way up until you get down to the race start. There'll be plenty of waiting when you get down there. They line you up in timed corrals on the river side of transition, right up here back in Riverfront Park, and you walk down with your timed group. And you want to seed yourself the same way you would for any 70.3, even though the current is at work. As you walk down here, there are porta potties right here, which is also the first aid station on the run, so you can always use those. And then there becomes quite a sort of bullpen when you get up here as athletes are waiting to go in the water. Now, this 70.3 swim entrance is different from others you may have experienced. They can only put 2 athletes into the water at once. At least that's how it's been the last couple of years. It's a very steep bank. You have to hold on quite tightly to the temporary ramp ropes that they have constructed there. There's about 10 steps or so, maybe 15 down to the water. You're pushed down them pretty quickly because Ironman wants to get all the athletes in the water. They've got 2,000 athletes to get in the water. When you get down to the water, there is about a 10-foot stretch of beach, which has matting on it because it's quite rocky. The timing mat is down on this little beach, and you are basically forced to get in the water right away. So there's very little delay from the top of the ramp or stairs, down the stairs, right turn, across this rocky carpeted area and into the water. So you really don't want to delay because there's lots of athletes trying to get into the water behind you. It's a bit chaotic at the start. It's more chaotic than a regular Ironman start because of this need to get athletes in the water quickly. You will find that first of all, here's an overview of a satellite view of the whole course. So athletes enter the water right out here. You can see the path that we just looked at on the picture. Athletes go in the water right about here. They cross the river. We'll look at that more carefully in a moment. And then it's just a straight shot right down the river to the exit dock right here. So looking at a better view of it, race start. Here we go. So you enter the water right here. Now, the minute you enter the water, the current is noticeable right from the very beginning. It separates athletes fairly quickly. There's not a very big pack out there at all. You're following the buoys across the river, which is the same direction that the current is taking you anyway. Now, when you get over about, maybe 300 meters in, you will find yourself crossing over the top of what we call the sandbar. Now, the sandbar could be as little as a foot deep. Last year, it was so shallow that you couldn't even get a full swim stroke. You're not over this area very long. And this is really the first time that you can see how fast the current is taking you because it's just rushing underneath you like a flume ride. If you find you can't take a full stroke, just go ahead and Superman, nice streamlined position right over the top of this. It's just a couple of seconds that you shoot across the top of this, and then the sandbar ends and you can't see the bottom anymore, and you just go flying out into the main part of the river right about here. So it's sort of normal swimming. Maybe you'll get a little bit of a draft across this main part of the river. People do get spread out pretty quickly. There are a couple of buoys. Follow the people in front of you. Here's the sandbar, and then you're spat out into the main part of the river. Now, there's little rapids here, but nothing you'd really notice. The current is obviously behind you. You want to stay to the middle of the river. That's where the current is the fastest, in the middle. You've got an island here to your right. It's called a gravel bar on this picture, but it's really, it looks like an island. And you will be running into sunlight coming straight into your face. It's actually quite difficult, if not impossible, to see these buoys. So your best bet, besides wearing tinted goggles, is to make sure that you're sighting off the right-hand side and going down the middle of the river. Again, age groupers, follow the caps in front of you. If you can see them, everybody's going in the right direction. Okay, so for a better overview on the larger part, here is a better picture of the whole river. Again, if the entrance is right about here, shooting across here, sandbar, tiny rapids, nothing to worry about, you barely notice it, and then you're just going straight down the middle of the river. There are buoys along here, just as there are on regular Ironman races. The only thing you want to start thinking about is the one turn on the whole course is there's a red buoy right about here that you're going to want to turn. You're keeping it to your right, you're turning to the right, and then you're swimming across this slough to get to the exit dock. Okay, now the slough has no current, so you don't have to worry. Once you've made that turn, you don't have to worry about being taken further downstream, but you do want to start thinking about that turn a little bit early so you don't get pushed downstream anymore. Okay, here's a picture of the exit ramp. The main part of the river is over here where my cursor is. See if we can make this any bigger. Maybe not. You're turning right around the top of this point right here and just swimming straight across the super still, no current slough to get out onto this dock. The exit dock has ramps on it. You swim up onto the ramp, sort of like a beached seal, honestly. You get your feet underneath you. There will be people there who are helping you to your feet. Take advantage of them because you're going from that sort of odd horizontal position to a vertical position. So grab someone's hand if they're offering it to you. And then you're running up this steep ramp, which, if I remember correctly, is carpeted. Go ahead and use the railing on the ramp to pull yourself up, okay? Your feet are going to feel a little bit funny. And then as you come up the ramp, Ironman likes to keep you off steps, so you actually have quite a long ramped run back and forth to get up the hillside to T1, to T1 and to T2. It's in the same place. You then have to run all the way along the side of transition, turn left, and then run all the way back into transition to get your bike. So it's quite a long transition area, which starts with this heart rate increasing ramp run up from the river, okay? Not much else to say on the swim. You're gonna really enjoy it. It's super fast, it's a lot of fun, it's nothing to be nervous about, so have a good time with that. Okay, moving on to the bike ride. The first mile or so as you head out of town is a little bit of a ticky-tacky tour through a couple of neighborhoods. And this area in particular, it's about 3 blocks. It's maybe a half a mile in. It's about a 3-block section where the pavement is terrible. You have to slow down a little bit as you go around this rotary. The whole area is 3 blocks long, but you just want to make sure you're a little bit careful through there because you could lose your bottles. You could get a pinch flat. It needs to be repaved. But then the minute you turn right onto Riverside Road, it's a straight shot, straight out here all the way, and your only other turn to think about in the first half of the race is when you turn onto Riverside Road. There are 2 narrow areas where you go under a railroad bridge, where right after the railroad bridge there are poppy little climbs. You might want to get up onto, up out of your saddle at that point to tackle those climbs. They're quite short. Otherwise it's rolling. The pavement is good. There's no wind, at least in the times that I've been there, there's no wind to worry about. So you can settle in pretty quickly with the exception of those 2 smaller climbs under the railroad bridges, which are also around turns. Take note of those on the way out because coming back, you'll notice that one of them is quite a sharp turn and may even have a slowdown or no passing zone in there because not only are you going under this railroad bridge, but it's a sharp blind turn and you have to be careful about traffic. They don't close this course, they only close half of it, okay? It's quite narrow. So you then turn onto Riverside Road. It's a right-hand turn, but you end up turning left. And then this is absolutely beautiful. You're going through, hazelnut trees and vineyards, etc. The things to think about on this back end of this course is there's right after you make this turn onto Riverside Road, there is again, quite short but quite steep climb. Again, you might want to get out of your saddle, good back brake. And again, take note, because on the way back, that is quite a steep and curvy descent. So just take a look at it on the way out. You're only going out and back once on this course. Also out here, there are 2 railroad crossings that are not in great condition. And if you take them too fast, you will lose your bottles and you might even flat. So as you see those railroad crossings come up, just be warned, they're not smooth and flat. They've got bumps on either side. So slow down, take, bunny hop them, whatever you know how to do, just be careful of them. All right, so as we're heading out, there's a couple of aid stations. This aid station is right around a 90-degree turn, yeah, that's right. The second one is. So just be mindful of that if you're planning to get nutrition or bottles. You go all the way out. There's a couple of 90-degree turns in here. You can really stay in arrow for both of them. They're not particularly dramatic. This last section right here is not a dramatic climb, but it's still a climb, and this section of road is terrible. Again, so just watch for potholes, watch for your wheels, or your tires, etc. Quick U-turn, there's often cars lined up there for some reason. There have been the last 2 years, so you have to kind of keep your head up, and then you come racing back towards town. Now, on the way back, there is often a headwind, so just be aware of that as you're thinking about your pacing on the way out. And again, think about those hills that I mentioned earlier, 1 on the back side of the course, 2 on the front side of the course, one of which may have a no passing zone. It did last year because of the way that it winds underneath the railroad bridge, okay? Okay, so moving on to the run. The run was voted one of the top 3 runs of all Ironman runs last year because it's so pretty. So again, you start here in transition. Obviously, this first section is a mile until you take this right-hand turn. Think of this course as a figure 8 on a popsicle stick, okay? And you're doing the figure 8 twice. So you're running out straight out to here. Your first aid station is going to be right here. This is the walk you took in the morning, by the way, to get to the swim start, okay? You're running along the water. If you have friends coming to watch, this is a great place for them to come watch because they're going to see you 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So there's parking in here. This whole thing is a wildlife conservation area, bald eagles, great blue herons, the whole deal. It's rolling. It's all bike path. It's completely closed to traffic. You won't see it in a car, and probably not a bike for the entire time you're out there. It's mostly shaded. There's very little elevation gain. There's a little bit of up and down for sure, but you can still get quite a good rhythm going. It's not like a golf course run where you're constantly going up and down and turning and you have different surfaces. It's all paved. So you're basically doing, this is the turnaround point right here for your second lap. So after you do that 1 mile from transition, you're starting your first lap, you do your figure 8, you come back, you do a second figure 8, and then you head back to the finish area, okay? Super course. There's not a whole lot of technical stuff to say about this. There's a couple of places where you can see it's paved over where there were tree roots, for example, but they're clearly marked. Again, no particularly insulting climbs or super sunny spots. It can get very hot in Oregon in the afternoon, so depending on your start time, make sure you hydrate well throughout. If they have ice available, make sure you're utilizing that. The last couple of years, it's been the mid-80s by midday, and so, it gets quite hot and dry. All right, gang, I think that's all I have to say about this course. It's a lot of fun. I think it's absolutely beautiful, very friendly crowd, regional type of, competition, and just really enjoy it. Hope that's helpful.